Okay, so let's get started in getting and downloading and installing the XCode application to use in your Macintosh so that you can do some programming of iOS applications for the course. I'm assuming that if you are looking at this is that you have a Macintosh computer at home and you have access to the internet and you can follow the link given in this lesson. That's https developer.apple.com/xcode. This is the software that we will be using. It's the IDE to use to create applications for iOS, also for Mac OS and a couple of other things, but mostly for Apple products. It used to be that we taught Objective-C, which was the preferred language of the Xcode environment, but that has slowly but surely turned to Swift. Swift is a newer language. It's also, I think, in the process of being bridged to Android as well. So it's here to stay, at least for now, and that's what we'll be using. At any rate, make sure that you do visit the link in the lesson at developer.apple.com/xcode. It'll take you to the Xcode page within the developer website for Apple. You can read all of the information about Xcode 12. There's a lot of it, and there's a lot more within the website. I'm going to scroll down all the way to the bottom and look for download Xcode 12. At the time of this recording, that is the latest and greatest. So click on that. It should take you to another page where it's going to ask you to log in. If you're a Mac user, you should already have an Apple ID, and I think that's what is at least required to get started. Once you do get signed in with your Apple ID, you should be able to obtain a free Apple developer ID that if you continue to use it to publish applications, that will actually cost money. I think it costs somewhere around $100 a year. For this course, we will be using only the free option. You don't have to buy the $100 developer ID. Just get the free one, just enough to get through this class. Once you sign in and get all that done, it should give you the option to download the program. It'll probably be a zip file that you need to unzip, double click it to install it, and then once you have it done, you should be able to simply go to your application folder and look for it. If I click on Go Applications and the window opens with my applications, should be on the X for Xcode, and there it is, a double click, and it's installed and it's running already. Of course, mine already was, and that's fine. So let me move this out of the way. I can close this since I already have my Xcode installed. What else can I tell you that's coming up? Okay, so for the most part, we're going to be using a simulator in the course, and part of Xcode, besides it being the IDE, the development environment that we're going to be using, the integrated development environment, it's going to also allow us to see what the applications would look like if they were running in a Apple device, because basically they are. Your Macintosh should be able to simulate the operations of a phone, of an iPad, or any other type of application device. I can go into the window menu on top and say, show me the devices and simulators. I don't have anything plugged in, but I do want simulators. Devices is on the left, simulators on the right. Simulators, I have chosen iPhone 11 because that's the kind of iPhone that I use. I'm more familiar with that. And once we get going, this is the kind of environment that I want to take a look at. If you want to use something else, I would sort of do it on your own for the exercises. Make sure that you stick to the simulators that we're using in the samples. So that's where that would be, though, under that window menu in your application. And the things that we will cover about the Swift programming language, we're going to be talking about basic things. We're going to be using variables. We'll be performing loops. We're going to be talking about arrays and functions, classes, objects, operators, inheritance. If you have taken any programming classes, this should all be familiar. Every language out there uses something like this, especially modern languages. Maybe if it's been a while since you've worked with programming languages, you're not familiar with things like objects, classes, but for the most part, everything else is just basic programming. We will also be talking about these in other environments, maybe, and by that I mean in the Replit environment. Some of you may have already done some of the assignments that were originally included with this course. They were not done in XCode. They were done in another environment, in Replit specifically. These lessons are going to be more about doing these things, taking these steps in XCode. So let's set up a new playground. Let me go back to my Xcode by invoking it, Xcode. There it is. Move it in here, and I'm going to create a new playground. Playground is just going to be an area where we can play with code, just like Replit allows us to give it code and tell it to run it. So does a playground in Xcode. I'll click on File, top, and say New Playground. There's a shortcut for all you Mac users out there. It's I think that is Control Option Command Shift N. I'll just click on Playground there and have it open. It opens it up. I want an iOS playground since we're going to be doing this for an application, and it's going to be blank. I'll click on Next to go to the next window. And here it's showing me, well, where do you want to save it? Well, in my laptop, or rather in my computer, I usually save things in my desktop. So I'll find the desktop on the left. And now it's telling me that that's where I am. If you don't see as extensive menu as I do, make sure that you click on this caret next to the next to where it tells you where you are. I'm on my desktop. I'll click on the caret again. That would expand it, and it shows me more options. One of them is the new folder. I'll create a new folder, call it iOS. You can call it whatever you want. You can save it anywhere in your drive that you can find it. And I'll create that. So now I have a folder called iOS. Inside of it, there's going to be a new file that's called My Playground. That could be called something else, but I'm just going to keep it as such. Click on Create. And now I get to see a little bit about the playground. So I get to see that it's put in a little bit of code in there already for me. It's going to import a library. It's going to import the UI kit. That's the user interface kit. So all of the stuff that the user interface needs is going to be loaded. All of those things will be available to us. And then the second line, it's declaring a variable, which we will be talking about shortly. We've already talked about it for Replit, but we'll do it also in Swift for Xcode. And it's saying create a new variable, and it's going to be a string type of variable, and it's going to say hello playground. Going to save this. I think it should already be saved. If I go to File and Save, it should just save it since it's already been created inside iOS. One thing that I'm having an issue with is seeing that since this is a playground, I expect it to show me on the right to tell me what it's actually going on. It should say that there is a new variable string. It's called playground, and on the right I should be able to see something else. Maybe you can see it. Hopefully by the next video I'll be able to tell you why I can't see it and how to get it done. At any rate, for this very first thing that you're doing for your first grade in Swift for Xcode, I need you to go and find the playground that you have saved. It should be wherever you saved it. Mine's going to be on my desktop. And I can see, well, let me go back to Xcode and just say that this file show and find there. And yes, it's here, my playground.playground. I'll right click on iOS. It tells me it's in the desktop and inside of my folder, blah, 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 and I can go and find it. It's not set up just yet, but I need you to go then to the next assignment in the lesson, and it should be called something like create your first playground. And this file, I need you to find it and upload it to get a grade telling me that you created your first playground. And that should do it. I'll see you in the next video.